It was a footnote in a book.
Literally a footnote?
Yeah, literally a footnote in a book, and I still kind of feel strange even thinking about it because it feels a bit like a miracle. I love this period of history, and it was a book that Robert
Cold
Dallek...
War, JFK.
The Cold War
yeah.
and JFK's presidency, and it was a biography of JFK that Robert Dallek wrote called An Unfinished Life. It's a brilliant book. And there was a chapter in there on Cuba, and it mentioned how JFK had sent 1,500 US servicemen. Obviously, you know, they'd been caught and captured, and he had sent somebody to negotiate for their release. And I was kind of expecting it to be someone from the State Department or CIA, and it mentioned a man called James Donovan, a lawyer from New York. And when I read that, I just wanted to know who this guy was. And the more I searched around, the more I realized there wasn't a lot about him. There really wasn't any definitive account, you know. And I kept looking and looking and looking, and I suddenly realized, wow, there's kind of an untold story here.
Here's the thing. The Soviet spy they caught, we want you to defend him. Here's the indictment.
Not sure I want to pick that up.
The accused doesn't know any lawyers. The federal court tossed it into our lap.
It was important to us, it's important to our country, Jim, that this man is seen as getting a fair shake. American justice will be on trial.
Well, of course, when you put it that way, it's an honor to be asked. But, Lynn, I'm an insurance lawyer. I haven't done criminal work in years.
He was an insurance lawyer.
He was an insurance lawyer.
The least glamorous kind of law there is, probably.
And I think probably that's why he'd sort of disappeared into history a bit. He died when he was very young. He died when he was 53. And when I met his family, I met his son in New York, I was, you know, very clear with him. I said, look, I've done a lot of research on your dad, New York Times Archives and the Kennedy Presidential Library. I want to tell his story. And when you meet the sort of son of this man that you've been researching, and he tells you first person what it was like when the house got shot up, when he got beaten up at school, when his dad went on this fishing trip.
For defending
this guy. When you suddenly come face to face with someone who feels very raw and keenly still that feeling of this happened to us, it really makes you go, wow, this is a movie that we need to kind of get out there, you know.
How did we do?
In there? Not too good. Apparently you're not an American citizen.
That's true.
And according to your boss, you're not a Soviet citizen either.
Well, the boss isn't always right, but he's always the boss.
Do you never worry?
Would it help?
Yeah, I was fascinated by James Donovan's relationship with this Soviet spy. He'd been operating for 15 years undetected in New York. And for me, the idea that someone was able to do that, at the height of the Cold War.
The defendant is committed to the custody of the Attorney General of the United States for imprisonment in a federal institution to be selected by him for a period of 30 years.
It became a sort of a weird Cold War bromance between these two guys, really, because they're diametrically opposed, and yet they come to really respect each other. And I think like they've made a connection that is very, very deeply felt between both men, you know.
And at what stage did Steven Spielberg come on stage?
Well, I pitched it to DreamWorks, they bought it, and I flew home. And when I landed, you know, and I felt incredible, I landed and I had an answer machine message saying, Steven Spielberg would like to hear this story directly from you.
That's the kind of answering machine message that you dream
Honestly,
of.
Honestly, I've still got it. I've kept it. He came on the phone and he said, Matt, I hear you've got a great story to tell me. Go for it. And
so you basically did the 15-minute pitch?
I did the 15-minute pitch to him.
Uh-huh. Did he interrupt you?
He didn't, and that was the scary thing. It was total silence.
You thought the line had gone dead?
And I thought the line was dead. I got halfway through, I got about 8 minutes through, and I said, Stephen, can I just check you're still there? Because I thought he dropped off, you know, like, and he said, just keep going, I'm wrapped. We got to the end, and there was a little bit of silence, and he said, I love this, when can you write it? And, you know, I've had his posters on my wall since I was a kid, so him saying that meant everything to me.
And finally, how does your life change now as a nominee and possibly a winner of an Oscar?
Wow. Well, I think my life really changed when Steven Spielberg said he wanted to make the movie, because he's such a huge seal of approval. Hollywood is always looking at what Steven Spielberg is doing next, because he's one of those, he's a guy that's always innovating, and he's always kind of, so to be working with him is to have the ability, I think, to suddenly look at material, be sent things, be considered for projects that you wouldn't have even had a shot at before. So that's a real game changer for me, definitely.
Matt, thank you very much. Good
Pleasure.
luck.
Thank you.